Welcome to Innovate Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech. Today, we're delighted to have our guest, Damon West, who is best-selling author and a keynote speaker. Damon, thank you for joining us today. And for our listeners and viewers who might not be familiar with you, if you don't mind, introduce yourself and providing some insights on your background. And I'm sure this is going to be extremely insightful and motivating, and we're going to dive into it.
Bob, man, first of all, thanks a lot for having me, brother. And I
My
know
pleasure.
It's a holiday day, so I mean, you're putting in the work. You're putting in the work on one day that most people are taking a break, and that's what it's really all about, man. Is coming out there and is being able to outwork everybody else. And I can tell by the stuff on your wall, man. I was looking at some of the record stuff. You're a guy that's been getting after you. You've been on the grind for a long time, Bob. There's no doubt about that.
Yes. Well, I follow something. I came across this young fellow once, and he said the coffee bean mindset. So I follow that mindset.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today, man. The coffee
Absolutely.
bean.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm all hyped.
Yeah, man. Basically, what I think in a nutshell, what we're going to talk about today is about finding opportunity and adversity.
Yes.
Because I believe that inside of every adverse, difficult situation in life, there's an opportunity there for you to grow. An opportunity for you to become a better version of you. In fact, I believe the best version of you is on the other side of whatever adversity you face in life. But the catch is this, Bob, and you already know this. You got to go through the adversity. You got to go through the difficult thing in front of you to meet and shake the hand of the man or woman you are always destined to be. This good friend of mine named Ed Milet. Ed says this about adversity. Ed says life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. Like everything in life, Bob, the good and the bad is always happening for you to become a better version of you. But again, it's when we accept that and we go through the difficult thing in front of us that we meet the best version of us. So my story, go ahead.
Please. Yeah, please go ahead. I was going to say, what really, we all go through a rough time in life. And what differentiate between somebody kind of, say, you know what, I'm going to go through this grind. It's hard, it's tough, I'm going to go through it. And they don't break down, and others break down. I'm not here to judge, say you're weak, you're strong, you're weak. No, but what's the kind of driving, how should I say, the driving power or the driving, something that drives you to continue and something stops you? I know there's a thin line there between both.
Yeah, I think it's people's ability to be able to accept the reality of the situation and understand that there's very few things that you do have control over, Bob. In fact, I know of only 4 things that a human being can control in their own life, and that's what you think, what you say, what you feel, and what you do. So what you think, what you say, what you feel, and what you do. And if it's not one of those 4 things, Bob, you have zero control over it. What I'm saying is the world goes on around you. You don't control the world around you, but you do control the world inside you. The little 6-inch part between your ears.
Yes.
Unless you let another person, another group, a political party, a faith-based organization, somebody get inside your head. Once you let someone inside your head, you can become a prisoner in your own mind. And Bob, I'm going to tell you a story today, and I know a lot about prison. The hardest prison to get out of is the prison in your mind. I meet more people out here in the free world who are locked up than I ever did when I served time in a real prison, because more people are in prison by their thoughts and by their things than by steel bars and barbed wire and concrete combined. You can't escape the prison of your own mind. It's the hardest prison to get out of. So we already know, just by what I said, that I've been to prison, Bob. And here's what happened to me. We'll start this thing off 16 years ago. The date is July 30th, 2008. On July 30th, 2008, I was sitting around this little rundown apartment in Dallas, Texas. And I was sitting on this little ratty old couch. And sitting next to me on the couch that day was my meth dealer, this guy named Tex. You see, 16 years ago, Bob, I'm not this clean-cut, polished-looking guy you have on your show today. All these best-selling books, the family man, the businessman, the college professor. None of that stuff is happening 16 years ago. 16 years ago, I'm a full-blown meth addict, and I'm the head of an organized crime ring. I'm the top criminal in this organization, Bob. I'm the shot caller, the boss of the entire group. So I'm on the couch that day with my dope dealer. And I'm telling him, as we're passing this pipe back and forth, his name is Tex. I'm like, Tex, you don't want to be here. The cops are closing in on me. The end is near. 10 days before this guy that I was doing all these burgers with in Dallas, this guy named Dustin, my partner in crime. Dustin had been arrested 10 days before. So, Bob, they got my partner in crime in custody, which means it's only a matter of time before they have me in custody. Because here's the truth about crime. Everybody talks. Everybody talks, Bob. And just as I passed that pipe back to Tex, the window on my right blew out and shattered. And then tumbling across that living room floor was a little canister going end over end, and it was smoking on one side. Bob, that was the day that my life changed forever because the Dallas SWAT team took me down. And I look back on it now, though, Bob, that mindset of finding the opportunity in adversity, because I think we can all agree that if a SWAT team shows up in your living room, that's going to be a pretty adverse day, right? That's going to be one of the tougher days. But I look back at July 30th, 2008. That's not just the day I was arrested. That was the day I was rescued. I got pulled out of a situation in life I couldn't get myself out of. The Dallas SWAT team saved my life that day, Bob. But it began a long journey that day.
You know, the story obviously doesn't end there. There's a lot more to it. So much inspiring and so much to learn from. How did you take that path that ended you to that date? How did you end up? How did it start?
Yeah, and I had a great life growing up here in Texas.
And how to stop it? How to prevent other young people from following that path?
Yeah, I had a great life.
Or should I call it a trap? I should call it a trap.
I think it's a mindset trap, right? It's your belief systems. You're hostage to your belief system. Your belief system tells you how to act, how to behave, how to respond in every situation you're in. And if you have a bad belief system, you'll make bad choices because a bad belief system reaffirms bad behavior. My belief systems at a young age told me it was okay to do the things I wanted to do. That I was very special. I was a unique person. This is the kind of stuff going through my head because I could throw a football, Bob. I was a 3-year starting quarterback for a 5A school here in Texas. Scholarship to play Division I college football at the University of North Texas. By the time I'm 20, I'm a starting quarterback for a Division I team. And my head is this big, man. I'm so egotistical. But life knocked me down. I got injured against Texas A&M. Separated my shoulder. My college football career was over. And I get up to this fork in the road in life, and football is gone, and my identity was gone too. And that's where I make a lot of wrong turns in my story, Bob. I got into drugs, the hardcore stuff, the cocaine, the ecstasy, the pills. But I graduated college. I moved off to Washington, D.C. I work in the United States Congress. After that, I worked for a guy running for president of the United States. 2004, I moved back to Dallas to be a stockbroker for one of the biggest Wall Street banks in the world, UBS, United Bank of Switzerland. And it was at that job as a broker in 2004 that my life and the lives of so many other innocent people would forever be changed. Bob, let me take you back to that day in 2004. First of all, I was working at UBS, man. I'm at one of the biggest banks in the world, you know. My life is taking off. You know, I've got everything in the palm of my hand, but I'm an addict. I'm an addict in the early stages of my addiction, in my addiction, and I don't even understand that I'm an addict at this point. I was passed out of sleep at work one day. This other stockbroker comes in. He sees me sleeping. He wakes me up. He's visibly shaking. Damon, wake up, man. He said, you can't sleep on this job. The markets are open. You're messing with people's money. They'll fire you if they catch you sleeping here. He said, come on down to the parking garage. I've got something that can pick you up. So, Bob, I followed this guy in the parking garage that day. We get into his nice little sports car, and he hands me this glass pipe with these crystal rocks in it. And I'm like, man, I've never seen a glass pipe before. I'm like, man, what is that? He said, Damon, just relax. It's crystal meth. He said, you're going to love this stuff. Truer words have never been spoken, Bob. I fell in love with crystal meth, the most evil, most destructive, most addictive drug. I smoked it one time, just like that. I'm hooked. And I couldn't give everything away fast enough, Bob, because that is what addicts do. Addicts give things away. An addict will give up their goals to meet their behaviors. I'm going to repeat that. An addict gives up goals to meet behaviors. And look, Bob, you don't have to be addicted to drugs and alcohol. You know this. You could be addicted to anything in life. Food, money, clothing, shopping, sex, pornography, the internet, Instagram, social media. If you find yourself giving up your goals to meet a behavior, you're an addict. Because driven people, focused people, successful people, they give up bad behaviors to meet their goals. But not the addicts. We give it away. And Bob, I gave it all away. My job, my home, my car, my savings account, my family, my tethering to God. In 18 months, I go from working on Wall Street to living on the streets of Dallas. And I'm homeless, man. I live in dope houses. Wow. I sleep in people's cars. I became a criminal at this point, Bob, and that's when the crime spree started. 2005, I started breaking into cars, breaking into storage units. Then I started breaking into people's houses. And this is a serious crime, Bob, because when I broke into people's houses, I didn't just steal property. I stole my victim's sense of security. And I don't even think they can get that back. I don't know if they can get that back. I can't have any contact with them. I can't even apologize to them. The state of Texas said it's a felony to apologize to the victim of your crimes. They'll send you back to prison for apologies.
Wow.
So my victims live with that for the rest of their lives. But after 3 years of committing property crimes against the people of Dallas, Texas, the Dallas SWAT team on July 30th, 2008, put an end to the Uptown burglaries the day that they arrested me. Or like I said a while ago, the day that they rescued me, Bob.
You know, usually such stories, it starts where somebody's in college. You know, football star, athlete, all the lights, all the limelight on him, on that person. And that's where they get involved in drugs. They lose school, they lose the scholarship, they get kicked out of the team and all of that. But you went through all the proper things. You got a job, on your way, a corporate job, in training. And that's what all happened. I guess meeting the wrong people or surrounding yourself by the wrong person. You didn't even know he was the right person or wrong person. Somebody with a sports car, works at a corporate job. He got his life together, that person. And small little influence, and boom, changed your life, your path, and took you down.
But I was also willing to do it. I mean, I was a willing party to this thing. So it's it can't all be on the other person. That's where the responsibility comes in. I made choices, Bob, and choices have consequences. And
Why made you make that choice? What made you say yes?
Oh, because to me, doing drugs, it was not a big deal. I mean, my life at that point, I was into cocaine in 2004. I drank and did a lot of blow. And at that point, it's like you put a drug in front of me, I'll try it one time. I mean, what did I care? I was doing drugs. So it was the mindset that I could do anything I wanted to, that I'm invincible, that things don't stick to me. I'm Damon West. Look at all the amazing things I've done in life by the time I'm 30 years old. But life has a way of catching up with you, Bob, and it caught up with me with crystal meth.
And how did Damon, when he got saved that day by the squad team, Dallas squad team, how did Damon turn his life around?
So it wasn't immediate. And I'm going to tell you, man, they put me in Dallas County Jail on July 30th, 2008. I get arrested. They bring me down there, the mug shots, the fingerprints, the bond. The bond was set at $1.4 million. It was the biggest bond in Dallas County at the time. To give you some context for this, Bob, there's 9,000 people in Dallas County Jail. This is one of the biggest jails in America. It's like a city inside there. 9,000 people, no one else, not murderers, not child molesters, not rapists had a bond that high. And my crimes are not like those kind of crimes. My crimes are property crimes, Bob. But no one was ever home during these burglaries. I never saw my victims. They never saw me. No one got hurt. No weapons were used. These are property crimes around drugs. But Dallas County is sending me a very clear signal with my bond, and it's that you're not going to get out of this one, Damon West, because we're going to take you to a very public trial, and we're going to make an example out of you. And they did. The trial took place 10 months after my arrest. The date is May 18th, 2009. On May 18th, 2009, I'm standing in front of a jury in Dallas. And the jury, these 12 men and women in this jury box, they've just listened to a 6-day criminal trial. Bob, 6 days for a trial where no one got hurt, it means the evidence of my guilt is overwhelming. And the crime that I'm standing trial for, this is no longer just a burglary case. This is the highest level crime they can bring against you. This is an organized crime case. This is RICO. And I'm the boss. I'm going down. And at the end of that long 6-day trial, the jury goes to deliberate for 10 minutes. 10 minutes, Bob. I don't know how much Law and Order you watch, but if a jury's gone for 10 minutes, it means they smoked you. They brought me back in the courtroom, and the judge read the sentence out loud. He said, Damon Joseph West, you are hereby sentenced to 65 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Bob, 65 in Texas is a life sentence in Texas.
It is.
The jury gave me life that day. Wow. So that's what I will tell you what happened in my life. The day that I was sentenced to life in prison, May 18, 2009, it jarred something loose in me. And it's like that feeling that I know that something's got to change and that something is me, but I don't know how to do it. But help will be on the way. And before I get to this part of the story, it's important, I think, to put out there that, the messengers are going to come to you in life from a lot of different places. And the messengers won't always look like you. They won't always come from the same background as you. They won't believe the same things you believe. You know, the messengers can be anybody from any place, anytime. One of my messengers that I ran into in life was a black Muslim man in Dallas County Jail, a guy named Muhammad. Muhammad shared with me while I was in Dallas County Jail in 2009, waiting to go to prison. He shared with me the story of the coffee bean. He told me to imagine prison as a pot of boiling water. He said you have 3 choices how to respond to the pot of boiling water. He said you can be a carrot. A carrot goes in the water hard, but becomes softened by the water. He said the carrot got beat, he got robbed, he may have gotten killed. He said you don't want to be the carrot. He said you can be like an egg in the pot of boiling water. The egg has a hard outer shell that protects it on the outside, but inside that soft liquid core, the yolk, the heart, becomes hardened. He said now, if your heart becomes hardened, you become incapable of giving or receiving love. Mm-hmm. He said if you're incapable of giving or receiving love, you do not come back as some of your parents recognize. You've become institutionalized, and your eggshell will have swastikas all over it. Then he told me, but you have a third choice, West, to be like the coffee bean. He said the coffee bean in the same pot of boiling water changes the pot of boiling water into a pot of coffee. He said the coffee bean is the only thing that changes the water because it is the change agent. And he told me, he said, if you want to come back as someone your parents recognize, you got to be like that coffee bean. In fact, the last words he ever said to me, Bob, it's the summer of 2009. He's bonded out of Dallas County Jail. The prison bus is getting ready to come pick me up to serve my life sentence in prison. He has 4 words for me on the way out the door. He said, hey, West, be a coffee bean.
Wow.
That was it, Bob. The 4 words that changed my life. Because those 4 words put the power back inside me. It was the ultimate message I'd ever heard that our world is created from the inside out and not the outside in, Bob.
Amazing. What an inspiring story. Only the beginning of it.
Oh, in the beginning of it, because there's a lot more to go from there.
And how do you manage to, yes, turning life, words of wisdom that stuck to you. If I would say to you, if you looked back at that day till today, you wouldn't even dream probably sitting here in front of me telling me your story.
Oh, no. But I mean, the catch to it is, too, that had I not run into Muhammad, and the other part of it is, had I not been receptive to Muhammad. Now, you got to remember, this is a black Muslim man from the streets of Dallas. I'm a white middle-class Christian from a little town called Port Arthur, Texas. This man who is so different than me, he shares with me one of the most important and transformational messages I've ever received in my entire life. And the moral of that is this, Bob. If you ever shut yourself off to people because of their differences, different race, gender, ethnicity, different religion, different opinions, it's a presidential year in America, different political views. If you close yourself off to people because of their differences, you're going to miss some of the most important lessons and some of the best friendships in this life. You know, if I'm not receptive to Muhammad that day, we're not having this conversation today. And the world doesn't have the coffee message. And I say the world, Bob, because from that time, and we'll cover the ground what's happened, from that time to the year we're shooting this video right now, 2024, I've become one of the most in-demand speakers on the planet, man. I go all over the world sharing the story of the coffee bean.
Amazing. I see you. Always active on social media, posting new videos every single day, everywhere, whether it's a college football team, a group of corporate, at a summit or a corporate office giving a speech to all kind. I've seen it all. The military, to the servicemen, men and women also. So you have 4 type of coffee beans. We're going to go through them because it's for kids, for the service people, for the men and women who sacrifice their life for our freedom, our safety in this country, and also corporate, people in distress, people in need. And what's your message, I would say first, to the young people out there who, as you said, they think they're invisible, untouchable, invincible. I'm sorry, excuse me. And untouchable, and nobody could do it, and nothing sticks to them, and then all of a sudden, one day, glimpse of an eye, boom, they down.
Yeah, I think one of the best things about with young people when I get to be in front of them is they see in front of them a person that in some cases looks like them, comes from the same background as them, but through the choices that they made, ended up in a very bad spot. And here's the message. If it could happen to me with all the advantages and all the things that have gone good in my life, if it could happen to this guy, it can happen to anybody, Bob. I had it all, man. I had a life of privilege before I went to prison. In fact,
Football, graduate, good college, degree,
Good,
great
yeah.
job.
bachelor's degree, everything, man. Everything in life was going good for me. But my choices are what held me back in life. And your choices have consequences. That's one of the main things I talk about when I do talk to young people. The consequences of your decisions. They go with you for the rest of your life. You'll never escape the consequence of your decisions. You know, whenever I'm talking to, let's say, the U.S. Army, the military,
Yes.
I want to talk to them about how to get past the tough times in their life, because one of the big things that when I started going in and talking to bases in 2020 is there was there was a lot of stuff going on with COVID. There was a lot of stuff going on with suicides that they were having.
That's a big thing in the military, suicide.
Yeah, it's a big thing. And Fort Sill, where we did a lot of this stuff, the general there, General Camper, was like, hey, man, look, he said, Damon, I'm going to keep you coming. Suicides are falling off the table. They're dropping here. And so whether or not it has something directly to do with it, General Camper believed it did, and so he would keep bringing me back. One of the things that with the military that they need to understand, and I'm trying to get through to them, is that your past doesn't define you. Where you've been, where you came from, the side of the tracks you grew up on. The fact that you went and became part of something bigger than you that defends this country and goes out and does something like serve other people. Serving people is the biggest honor you can have in life. It's servant leadership. Servant leadership is helping other people reach their goals in life, helping to raise other people up to a different station in life. And that's one of the things that military people, servicemen and women, have in abundance, is they know how to serve. And, man, you don't have to be great to serve, but you have to serve to be great. You know what I mean? And they're great people. And all they just need sometimes is for someone to tell them. And maybe it's just telling them those 4 words that everyone needs to hear that you usually hear from a teacher or a coach. Those 4 words, I believe in you. I believe in you. Just having someone tell you they believe in you, it changed your life. I'll give you a story about a time in my life when someone told me they believed in me. When I got to prison in 2009, it was the hardest thing I've ever been through, Bob. I mean, it was fighting from the word go. Muhammad told me, he said, everything in prison is about race. You're going to fight the white gangs first because you're white. After that, you'll fight the black gangs. If you earn your right to exist, everyone will leave you alone. Well, he didn't tell me how long that would take, and I didn't understand. But he told me, he said, you don't have to win all your fights, but you do have to fight all your fights. He said, some days you're going to win. Some days you're going to lose. He said, do not worry about the losses. Just get up and keep fighting. And so that's what I did, Bob. I just kept on fighting. It took about 2 months to finally earn my respect. And I got my butt kicked a lot in those first 2 months. But I stood up to every fight. Because he said, you don't have to win all your fights. You got to fight all your fights. But after I had earned my respect and I was working on myself, becoming that coffee bean, I got a letter from my favorite teacher growing up. My 7th grade Texas history teacher, a guy named Mr. Jellin. And in Mr. Jellin's letter, he wrote me, it basically says, you've been to the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, but you've always been able to bounce back. And he said, I believe you'll bounce back from this. And in that letter, he had those 4 words, I believe in you. And that's when he told me in that letter. He said, when you get out of prison, you should consider sharing your story with other people because you could bring them hope. Wow. That was the seed that planted everything you see going on in social media now where I'm going around the world. That was the seed that did it, man. Because my teacher, my favorite teacher, reached out to me and he told me he believed in me. The power of belief is strong, Bob. But here's what I know about belief. You have to believe in yourself before anybody will believe in you. And if you don't believe in yourself, you can't expect people to invest in you, invest their belief in you. But belief is a powerful thing, Bob.
The belief. Amazing. And you know what it is? It's the simple words of positivity.
That's it.
That bringing someone a positive, how should I say, the positive side of life by simple words, 4 simple words. I believe in you.
Yeah, that's
Amazing.
it, man.
Amazing.
That's what kicked it off, man. Now, there's some other things I did when I was in prison that really got me in a good spot. Man, I got up every day with a good attitude. That's one of the things you control. I would begin in gratitude. My buddy Lee Brower, he always says that acronym, B-I-G, begin in gratitude. And I'd start my day off, and I'd think about the things I was grateful for. Even though I was living in a prison, I was no longer living on the streets. I was no longer an addict in my addiction. I was becoming a better version of me. I had 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to become the best version of myself possible. And every day I'd work on myself, and I'd ask myself at the end of the day, how did I do today, Damon? Could I have done better? Did I leave something in the tank? What can I do tomorrow? And that's when I started looking at the next day, because you don't have to live in your past, and you don't have to have regrets on your life of what you didn't get done in one day. Hey, man, you know what? Once the past is gone, it's gone for good, and all the money in the world can't buy back time.
No.
So you have to understand that time is your most precious resource. And when I was doing time in the prison, that's when I really fully understand time. When every second counts on top of your head, man, when you're sitting there counting days, weeks, months, and years, I learned a lot about time. And let me tell you something. Whenever you understand time and you understand the 4 things you can control, and you can spend your time on those 4 things and not the things you don't control, because then you waste your time. Once you understand that, your life can take off in the fast lane. Mine sure did. I saw parole. The parole board came to visit me in 2015, Bob. 7 years, 3 months into this sentence, the parole board comes to see me, and the lady from parole is just stunned. She's like, Mr. West, you didn't just change yourself inside this prison. You changed the entire prison around you. She said, I have one question for you today for this hearing. If you could be remembered for being anything in life, anything at all, she said, tell me what that would be, but give it to me in just one word. Go. Bob, I knew the answer to that question. I'd been living that answer the whole time I was in prison. And I fired her answer back at her, and I said, useful. I just want to be useful. And I could be useful inside this prison, or I could be useful in that free world, finding more coffee beans. November 16th, 2015, Bob. A day I'll never forget. Because on November 16th, 2015, I walked out of a Texas prison. But I'm not a free man. Like, you're not looking at a free man in front of you. I got a little more time left on parole. I'm on parole to the year 2073. 49 more years, Bob. I've been alive for 49 years, so I got 49 of these to go.
Amazing. From July 30th, 2008.
Yeah.
Till 2015. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Those, or should I say those 7 years felt like probably 70 years.
Yeah, and what happened to me inside there, Bob, was a spiritual awakening. I got into a program recovery called AA, and when I got into AA, I learned a lot about spirituality, and I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about spirituality. Spirituality is your conscious contact with whatever you call God, and you can believe anything you want in this life. Don't ever let anybody tell you what you should believe, because your belief and your relationship with whatever you call God, that's important, and it's where the magic's going to happen, because human beings are only capable of so much. The change that you see happen in my life, human beings aren't capable of that. That's a spiritual level that's happening on. But that's turning your life and your will, your thoughts and your actions over to a higher power. And that's what I did when I was inside that prison. That's what I do to this day still.
I mean, pretty inspiring and motivating. Damon, let's talk about Coffee Bean for Kids. What inspired you to start it, and what's the message behind it?
I tell you what inspired it was during COVID. All these kids were at home. My little stepdaughter, Clara, is second grade at the time during COVID. And John Gordon and I were talking about writing a book for kids to understand the pandemic. The life became a pot of boiling water for these children. It was a hard time. And so that's what the genesis of the Coffee Bean for Kids was. That's where it came from. But I tell you, helping me write it was my little stepdaughter, Clara, who, like I said, at the time she was in second grade. And she gave me some heads up on how kids' dialogue is. Because, I'd write something, I'd read it to her. She's like, that's not how we talk. This is how we talk. And so I had, a real kid involved. In fact, she was such a big influence in the book that she's in the book. She's the little girl on the cover of the book is a little girl named Clara. And it's after my little stepdaughter, Clara.
Interesting. And you did something called the locker room.
Yeah.
Now, we have Be a Coffee Bean, the Coffee Bean, and then we have the locker room. What is the locker room?
So the locker room was a book that my buddy Stephen Mackey, he called me up with the concept of the book. It was dealing with the world that we were in. And I would say we're still in that world where we don't really have a place that we can go to in America where we can all come together, right? That's what a locker room is. A locker room, a team that wins championships, Bob, they have got a place that they call the locker room. And in that locker room, you can exchange ideas. You can disagree with the person across from you.
A lot of interviews happen in the locker room. Always after the games, yes.
Absolutely.
There's sportscasters there with the microphone and running around, yeah.
But that's where the team comes together. Halftime, before the game, after the game, depending on what happened, the locker room speeches, right? Because in that locker room, your success is my success, and my success is yours. And that's what I'm saying. Right now, America, we don't have a locker room right now. We don't have a place where we all come together and we say, hey, you know what? We may all be different, but together we can be the best version of us.
Yes.
So much is going on right now that divides us in this country, you know?
Absolutely, yes.
Politics, the media, social media, these things are converging upon us. These smartphones that make us dumb, these smart TVs that make us dumber. The locker room was written for a time right now that we're in where everybody needs to come together. And in the book, The Locker Room, on the wall of a lot of these locker rooms that you'll see in sports, they've got their core values in there somewhere. And in the book, The Locker Room, there's 6 core values that the team has built their success on. The team in the book is a high school football team, and their mascot is the Tigers. So we built the 6 pillars core values out of the word tiger. T, tough people win. I, integrity over everything. G, growth follows belief. E, excellence everywhere. R is for the relentless effort, and S, service over self. When the team got into the locker room, they were a team that was divided. You have to read the book to see what happened to them, but they were a team that was divided. But they got in the locker room, they started applying their 6 pillars core values, and they all came together because they realized that they're stronger together and that they're more alike than they are different. The book was really written for America because America needs a locker room right now, Bob.
Yes, it does. 100% agree. And with that message, Damon, give us a memorable moment that where you use the coffee bean mindset into corporate or companies or sports.
Okay,
sports team, I should say. Excuse me.
So here's what I had to do. I had to apply to my own life. In 2020, the pandemic hits, right? March of 2020. Yes. Bob, I was taking off in life in the speaking world, right? The last 2 presentations I did before the pandemic hit, Minnesota Timberwolves, so now I'm in the NBA, and Walmart, the biggest employer in America, man. And man, I am doing this. I'm taking out the coffee beans, starting to take off. The book came out the year before. It's got a global publishing deal attached to it. It gets reprinted in every language in the world: Chinese, Spanish, Arabic, French, Italian, German, Vietnamese, Korean, and then the pandemic hits. This plane that I'm on going up is shooting down to the ground fast. Every email I open for the next 2 to 3 weeks is a cancellation of an event. Just like that, the success that I had built up all those years after prison and speaking finally hit my groove. It's gone. So I'm sitting around. This is late March, early April 2020. I'm miserable. I'm mad. And I'm becoming the egg, Bob. I am becoming the egg.
Oh, my God.
But then I got to snap out of it. No, excuse me. Yeah, then I got to snap out of it. So, and I told myself, hang on, Damon, you got to snap out of this, man. You don't control what's going on around you. The world, the coronavirus, the lockdowns, you don't control that. But I do control what I was going to do every day. I control my actions, my thoughts, and how I feel. And I got in touch with this friend of mine. She had a big Zoom platform. This is before everybody really understood Zoom. And I said, hey, listen, can we use your Zoom platform? And I'll put the word out on social media. I'm giving away my presentation right now until this is over, because I believe this message of the coffee bean is a timely message, and I think people need to hear it. And I know that people don't have any money right now. They're not willing to spend their money because no one knows what's going to happen next. But let's go give it away to keep it. That's one of the things I learned in recovery. You got to give it away to keep it sometimes. Absolutely. For the next 4 months, I'm doing all these Zoom calls. I probably did 120 Zoom calls in 4 months, Bob. I mean, here's what happened. One, I got up every day and I had a purpose again. I've got people waiting out there for me. They're waiting to hear the coffee bean. I'm here to help. I'm there to serve. 2, I'm getting in my reps. Anything you want to be good at in life, Bob, you got to get in your reps, right? You got to practice that.
Yes.
I'm keeping my presentation polished. 3, my presentation is getting in front of people that would never have heard it before because I was willing to get up and do something without getting paid for it. I get people messaging me all the time, Bob, I want to be a speaker, Damon. How do I be a speaker like you? Well, get ready to go out there and make no money at first. Just go out there and speak. Because the more you speak, the more you speak. And when the pandemic was lifting, about 4 months into it, remember people started traveling again,
Yes.
offices started to open up, I started getting these messages in Twitter Messenger, Instagram Messenger, Facebook Messenger. The message was this. Hey, you spoke to my group, my team, my organization during COVID. It was an incredible message. My company's coming back together. Can you talk to my company? We want to hire you. We want to book you to speak. Boom, 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 boom. My life takes off like this.
And this is recent. We're not talking 10, 15. This is 2020, 21.
That's 4 years ago, man. 4 years ago.
You really turned it around.
But my life, none of this has happened. We don't have this conversation today, Bob.
Yes.
If I would have sat there during the pandemic and go, well, no one's got any money, I'm not sharing my message then because I'm worth this much. Man, what a crazy, closed off mindset that would have been. And if I would have had that mindset, we wouldn't be here today. And the world doesn't have the coffee bean message. But the message came out at the right time, but I had to be the messenger that was willing to give it away to keep it. And I'm telling you,
And you used it. You used your time, and you used it in a positive way.
that's it.
And, yes.
And the universe, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, Allah, whatever, Yahweh, whatever you want to call it, man, it doesn't matter, whatever you want to call it. But the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, recognizes that kind of stuff, man. And you get out what you put in. That's one of the things I tell people in life. You got to put in this life. One of the best quotes I've ever heard, I tell people all the time, Bob, find your favorite quote. And when you find that quote, man, you write it down. Put it on a Post-it note. Put it on the mirror where you get ready in the morning. Put it on your phone. Make it the screensaver for your phone. Find a favorite quote that moves you and memorize it and live by that. I found my favorite quote in a book I was reading in prison. It was a book by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called The Strength to Love. And in this, The Strength to Love was just a collection of sermons that Dr. King had written. But in this book, there was a sermon. I'll tell you what it was called. It's called The Death of Evil Upon the Seashore. And in this sermon, Dr. King introduces me to a guy named Charles A. Beard. Charles A. Beard was the most famous, most brilliant historian of the 20th century. This guy could tell you names, dates, times, and places of anything that happened in world history. In the middle of the 20th century, somebody went up to Charles A. Beard. They said, hey, Dr. Beard, tell me what lessons history has taught you. Bob, his answer became my quote. Now remember, this is the most brilliant historian of the 20th century. Here's his answer. He said, there are 4 lessons history has taught me. First, whom the gods would destroy, they must first make mad with power. Second, the mills of God grind slowly, yet they grind exceedingly small. Third, the bee fertilizes the flower that it robs. And fourth, when it is dark enough, you can see the stars. That's it, Bob. Think about
Interesting.
that. So what I grabbed from that quote, what I extrapolated from what he said, first, whom the gods would destroy, they must first make mad with power. History books are littered with people who had a quest for power and it destroyed them. Because if your pursuits are not pure, if you're out for the grab of the power, the money, whatever it is, swap out the word power for something else, if that's what motivates you and moves you, you'll destroy yourself in the process because there's no happiness that comes from that. Second, the mills of God grind slowly, yet they grind exceedingly small. Life is a long time to live, Bob. It's made up of all these little moments in life. It's a marathon, not a sprint. All these little moments, these little granular moments that make up your life. And you have a bad moment here, it's not over. You have a good moment there, it's not over there either. The mills of God grind slowly, yet they grind exceedingly small. All these little small events make up a human life. Third, the bee fertilizes the flower that it robs. This is servant leadership, Bob. Nature abhors a thief. You can't be a taker in this life. Nature doesn't even like a taker. The bee, when it steals the pollen, has to pollinate the other flowers when it flies away. That's what nature requires from its own, and it's what is required of you. You've got to give away some of your stuff to keep all your stuff. Fourth, when it's dark enough you can see the stars. This is about everything we're talking about today. When you're at your darkest moment, when things don't look like they can get any better, when it just looks like you can't go on anymore, when it's hard to wake up in the morning, when it's hard to put one foot in front of the other, that's your chance to shine your brightest. Only when it's dark enough can you see the stars. Only when your life is at the most pivotal, darkest point can you shine your brightest and become the best version of you.
So when
That's
you're
my
on your
favorite
lowest
quote.
point, this is your opportunity.
That's it.
to
That's
shine.
what the crux of the whole thing, man. But that's my favorite quote, man. I came across that quote.
Amazing.
Memorized.
And you live by, before you ask, you got to give. And you did it in 2020 when you started your whole, should I say, free podcast, a free message out there on Zoom.
That's it. And that,
Yes,
if I don't do
before
that,
you asked, you gave. And
That's
then
it.
it came.
that's it.
Absolutely. Amazing.
And
Love
you
it.
gotta-
I live by that code. Before you ask for something or anything, you have to give. And if
Yeah.
it's come, it will come. If it's not the first time, it'll come. Just keep it pure and real.
Yeah, give without expectations of anything in return.
That's it. Give
Yeah.
without expectation. Amazing.
That's it, man.
We
That's
should
it.
not expect anything only from ourselves.
Bob, in my program recovery, I go to AA meetings, and I don't
Yes.
speak for AA. I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not. No one from AA pays me to speak, so I don't think there's. I want AA people to understand that I'm not trying to represent AA. It's just the 12-step program recovery that I've been going to since prison, and I'll go to for the rest of my life because that's how I stay sober. It's a program recovery that works for me. But in the program recovery, we have these 4 spiritual principles. They're called the 4 absolutes. If you can plug every decision in your life to these 4 spiritual principles, you have an incredible life worth living. Here's the 4 spiritual principles. Unselfish, honest, pure, and loving. Unselfish, honest, pure, and loving. Are the things that I want to do, the thoughts in my head, do they come from a place of an unselfish person, a pure person, a loving person, an honest person? Unselfish, honest, pure, and loving. The other side of that, the opposite of unselfish, honest, pure, and loving, selfish, self-seeking, self-want, self-denial, self-delusion. Self-delusion is when you believe your own crap. When you start believing you're that great person inside your head, the ego talking to you. Only when we can become unselfish, honest, pure, and loving with all the endeavors in our life do we fully live a spiritual free life.
Amazing. They're free and easy to act
Yeah.
on. They don't cost you a penny.
No.
Nothing to lift.
No, you don't have to go to some...
No.
I didn't go to some big rehab center. I went to a prison. That was my rehab center. But I got into a program recovery. And look, these meetings that I go to, if you're someone out there that's listening to this and you're struggling, find a program recovery. I'm not here to say it has to be AA, but I'm going to tell you something. And when I started going to those rooms of recovery, I got in there every time I go to a meeting that lasted me an hour. I spent $1 when they passed the basket around. I had a cup of coffee and some great conversation and listened to some good communication, because listening is a superpower, Bob. And when you can listen without interrupting yourself with your own thoughts, your own prejudices, that's when you're really cooking in grease.
If somebody asked me, what do you gather from this amazing interview? I would say 2 things. One, before you ask, you need to give, and it'll come to you. The second one is, don't let your past dictate your life or
That's
be
it.
your present sentence. That's it. Your past only an experience. Learn from it. Amazing. Damon, you've been around, you've seen it all, and you're learning more, and you're given a lot, obviously, which is amazing. It's very positive for everybody, for the youth, for elderly, for everyone out there that needs help, whether it's a company, it's sports, kids, all of that. What's your message out there to the young people that's going to watch it, or they're going to watch this amazing interview? They'll say, you know what, I want to carve my own path in life. I want to do the positive things. What's your advice to them?
2 things. First of all, and most importantly, the power is inside you to change the world around you. It's already in you. The power is inside you. And if you can keep the power inside you, you don't survive your adversity, you thrive in your adversity. My life is the example of that. I took the coffee bean message to the biggest pot of boiling water there is, a level 5 supermax prison in the state of Texas. And if I could do it in there, if I could make that place into a pot of coffee, you can do it out here, I assure you. Because life is about our choices. And when you decide that you are going to be a doer does stuff, Bob. Eliminate the T word. And the T word in this case is the word try. Eliminate that word from your vocabulary. If you say I'm going to try to do something, you might as well say I'm not doing that. I refuse to do that. If someone says, hey, I'll try to meet you somewhere, they're not meeting you. Eliminate the word try. The word try means nothing. It's a terrible word that holds people back and gives people a crutch and an excuse. Either do or do not. As Yoda said,
placing a mental obstacle when you use the word try.
As Yoda said, there is no try. You do or do not.
We're going to follow the logo of Nike. Just do it.
Just do it, man. Just do it.
Amazing. You know, Damon, with such a busy lifestyle, first of all, I appreciate you coming on the show and having this amazing, great, inspiring conversation and insightful. How do you manage time? Family, work, business, friend, all of that?
Yep. So here's what I've learned in life. I go for rhythm and not balance. There is no way. I think people that are super successful in something in life, it's not going to be possible for you to achieve balance. And what happens is when you try to achieve balance and it's not possible, well, then you can get down on yourself. You can get upset. You can get angry about your position in life when you had this incredible life, but you find yourself unfulfilled because you're trying to do something that's not possible. There's no balance out there for you if you're an overachiever, but there is rhythm. And rhythm is this. That means whatever I'm doing it to the full speed, best of my abilities, and I'm putting the blinders on. If I'm out working, which I'm on the road 20 to 25 days of the month, man, I'm out there speaking, I'm on the road, and I'm giving it my all. Now, my family's at home. My wife, my stepdaughter, my animals, they're at home. I'm not able to be there most of the time because I'm out helping to build our dream. But when I'm at home, man, you know what I got to think about doing? I got to put the phone up so I'm present. So that the minutes that I'm home count, that I'm fully there. There's my rhythm. I'm fully into whatever I'm doing. If it's on the road speaking, if it's at my house with my family, that's my rhythm. I go back and forth in that rhythm. And I don't worry about trying to achieve balance because I don't think balance is achievable for someone that's like me that's an overachiever.
Amazing. What is the goal moving forward? What is Damon West's goals moving forward?
Yeah, I'm constantly trying to grow the coffee bean message. That's my thing, man. I just want to get in front of as many people as possible and share that message. I got another book that'll be coming out next year called 6 Dimes and a Nickel. 6 Dimes and a Nickel is prison slang for 65 years. Very unique title for this book. But it's going to be a memoir / self-help book. It's going to be a combination of the change agent and the coffee bean.
I want a signed copy.
Yeah, you get one, man. You get one for sure. And then what I like to do, like once a month right now in my life, I make it a point to go into a prison somewhere in America. Most of the time it's Texas. I'm a Texas guy. I was in the Texas prison system. But I find time to go in once a month, man, just pour into those men and women in there because I'm their dream. I call it Touch the Dream Day. We have to be able to touch our dreams in life, Bob. That's when they become a reality. And to every man and woman in prison, I am the dream. I'm the example that it can be done. And if they can see me and touch me and hear me in person, in the flesh, it helps them believe that they can do it too. And so my motivation in life, one day I want to get to a place where I've made the money and I'm at a good spot and I can get off the road and get back into more prisons. I love being in prison. I get to go speak at some of the biggest corporations in the world, some of the best sports teams in the world, but my favorite place to be is back inside of a prison, which is ironic. I fought all those years to get out, but now I can't wait to go back in.
Because you're giving back. You're giving something positive now.
Yeah.
You know, the message, you changed it. Like the coffee bean, like Muhammad told you.
That's it.
Yes,
That's it.
Amazing. Really amazing. I'm inspired. You know, I want to say thank you for joining us today on Innovate Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech. It's been absolutely amazing. Be sure to connect with us on social media. Until next time, I always say stay innovative, stay curious, think out of the box. But today we're going to say be a coffee bean. That's the message of the day. Yes, absolutely. Be a coffee bean. Damon West, thank you again. Great message. I look forward to see you out there more and receive your book next year. Yeah, and if anybody needs to look me up, I'm at DamonWest.org, man. That's where you find me for all speaking engagements. Social media is at DamonWest7. See you soon, Bob. Be a coffee bean, brother. My pleasure. Yes, be a coffee bean. Thank you again. Thank you. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share. Innovate Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech podcast. And if you're joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.